Welcome back. It's TARDIS Chat, and we're going to be playing Hakuoki Kyoto Wins, where we are playing a character who is on a mission to, find her dad, I believe. Don't know if he's dead or not. It is an Atomo game. Came out in, 2017. But I was lucky enough to be given a copy, and, so I figured we would try it out here. Now, we'll see at the top. I can't change that. It's just going to be there. I checked. I tried a few different times. It won't let me change the layout. But I figured we'll put with this playthrough so you can see the different characters. There's a sequel. I guess it's a sequel to this game that I'll be playing sometime afterwards. Kaisuke there. I think that's the one, just by the looks. Hashitoro looks like a dick, so I don't think I'll like him. I really like how Idea Factory does their games. Makes me interested in if they did actually make an anime with their characters. I think that'd be pretty cool. Oh, Hachoro there looked pretty nice. Alright. That's just the end of that. Alright, let's see if we're finally getting into it. I think I might turn down the volume just a touch. That's better. Okay, there's no continue as I've not played it yet, so we'll go new game. I think we'll just leave the name. Input? Oh, go back. Okay, there we go. Guess I'm using the keyboard. There's the default. Work of fiction, not based on anybody. It's a coincidence. 1864. Ooh, it's like watercolory. So, this is Kyoto? It was awfully impressive, no denying it. Even simple hellos between people passing the street seemed warm and friendly. They nodded and smiled to one another as if family and not strangers about on errands. It's here in West Virginia, too. No, there was something else as well. Something making the city feel strangely cold. Almost as though there was a great invisible wall shutting out anyone wandering from the country. I'm not sure if I belong here. No, that's all in my head. I walked quite some distance to reach Kyoto, and both my mind and body were exhausted. Even so, tiredness was no reason to meander and feel sorry for myself. I couldn't afford to. Excuse me. I hesitantly stopped a passerby. I'm sorry, I seem to be a bit lost. Could you... What am I supposed to do now? I was lost again, but in a different sort of way. I sighed and looked up at a darkening sky. The sun was beginning to set. People I'd spoken to showed me no unkindness, but they'd given me directions if I'd needed. But was now really the best time to leave the city? Learning the person I'd hoped to visit had left town caused hope to seep from my crumbling resolve. The only person besides father I could rely on in the city, the only person besides father I could rely on in the city, who I could rely on, Uh, okay, I think that this sentence is messed up. Okay, Koto Yakimura, a Dutch-educated doctor in service to the shogunate and the father of the protagonist. He's been missing since shortly after his arrival in Kyoto. Okay. Let me close the screen. Okay, escape doesn't work. A doesn't work. Okay, right-clicking works. Dr. Matsumoto was a doctor serving the shogunate. Is that not what I just read? Oh, a military government run by a samurai in this game refers to the Takagawa shogunate. I'd never met him myself, but my father put a great deal of trust in the man. He had told me that if I ran into trouble in his absence, I was to contact Dr. Matsumoto. Unfortunately, Dr. Matsumoto was out on business and would not return for some time. Was I too hasty? Perhaps I should have waited. It is indeed rude to visit without warning, which is why I had sent a letter prior to my arrival. But it seems he had left before reading my letter. Perhaps I thought I should have waited for a reply before traveling to an unfamiliar city. But I can no longer spend time waiting idly for news. Chizuru, and I'm going to assume that's going to tell us our character. Yep. Main character of the story, she travels to Kyoto in search of her father, and she consequently finds herself involved with this Shinsengumi. Is something wrong, father? He paused for a moment and looked at me. Is it for business again? He left the house during that period, sometimes for days at a time. How long will you be gone? Oh. There was no hiding my disappointment. Nonetheless, I wasn't a child anymore. I couldn't beg him not to go, or some other foolishness. Yes, I'd be lonely, but I was much more worried for him. Please, father, be careful. They say the city of Kyoto is dangerous. He only smiled and nodded. His eyes looked tired. You needn't fret. Okay, do you promise? Father kept his promise. I knew a letter arrived so often I scarcely had time to respond before another would arrive. He told me that he worried about me being home all by myself. Then the letter stopped. The whole month passed with no word. Father, they say Kyoto is full of Ronin. No, Renor, they're samurai without a master. Samurai who have left their master have been stripped of their privileges. It can also refer to a samurai who does not have a master to serve. It is not a safe place. Usually a samurai is paid by their house, but refers to the domain or clan that a samurai services. It can also be used after a fashion to refer to the specific person a samurai serves. Ronin who report to no house often rob people in order to make ends meet. They're nothing more than violent criminals who hide behind the image of the samurai. Such is the state of Kyoto, the city of Ronin. Small wonder, then, that I worried for my father. My mind would concoct horrible possibilities, and I often found myself depressed and tense. First, I suppose I need to find a place to stay. Lost in thought, I didn't notice nightfall descend. If I was honest with myself, I hadn't the faintest idea of how long searching for him would take. I'd brought a negligible sum of money with me, enough to last me a month if used wisely. Finding father in this window of time was a must. Otherwise, I would have to depend on Dr. Matsumoto returning in this time, or else I'd be forced to return home without a word. Well, At any rate, I should try and be as frugal as possible. I lengthened my stride and set off on my path. Fortunately for me, men's clothing assisted with keeping a quicker pace than women's. Kyoto presented many dangers to a young girl hoping to explore the city without direction. My disguise, such as it was, proved successful, and I'd safely made it all the way to Kyoto. Infectious test went to my head and led me to believe I could explore Kyoto as I pleased. But Kyoto is not a safe place. I should have remembered that. Instead, I had somehow convinced myself that the city's hidden dangers didn't apply to me. I got a little cough. I was about to discover otherwise. I spun around. In the street in front of me were 3 Ronin. Can I help you? I did my best to keep my voice calm, reaching nonchalantly for my kadachi. Presumably some type of blade. Originally a short katana, by the end of the Edo period it referred to a large wakizashi. It was usually worn as half a pair with a large sword, such as a katana. My father encouraged me to take sword lessons. I'd kept with them, and I did rather well. I was confident enough in defending myself. However, perhaps my overconfidence in myself is what served the situation at hand to me. I'd messed up and let my guard down. My fault. There was a chance I could take them on, but there were 3 of them, and 1 of me. Only then did I realize they were far more interested in my sword than they were in me. I'm not a little pup. I'm a chihuahua. You're not taking my sword, but this is... The sword wasn't just some blade I picked up. It's a family heirloom spanning generations. There was no way I could give it to the Ronin. Though, I had a feeling they wouldn't understand. In such a situation, the best decision was undoubtedly to retreat. I turned and ran as fast as my legs could. Gosh, they sure don't give up easily, do they? I felt like I'd been running for quite a while, but I could still hear the Ronin cursing loudly. I ducked into an alley flattening against the wall. After deciding they weren't too close, I crept farther into the alley. Someone left a couple sheets of wood leaning against one of the houses, a perfect hiding spot. But look, I thought kneeling down under them. This is my way to escape this mess. Huh? I was listening for sounds intently. A suspicious calm entered my mind. I'd expected to hear Ronin yelling to each other looking for me, but sounds turned into minutes. I heard nothing. I was about to sneak out and have a look when... Sounds like somebody got what was coming to him. What? My plan to investigate was immediately halted. Yeah, I agree with that. Remaining silent and hidden was more important. Still... It was then that true fear began to set in. There was something dangerous out there. Something quite possibly lethal. My imagination conjured up no shortage of gruesome theories. Even so, I could feel an itch of curiosity. I wanted to know what was out there. Carefully, I peeked around the corner's edge. The cold reflection of moonlight upon a blade glared at me, and my eyes followed it to the arm that held it, clad in a coat of light blue. Had this person saved me? But no slower than it appeared, my hope vanished. I heard the Ronin stumbling to beg for his life. The person in the blue coat said nothing, just stepped forward, his sword raised. A high screeching laugh cut the man's scream. The blade fell through the air like a butcher's knife rather than a sword. No skill, just death. The scream turned wet, caught, and disappeared like air leaving half-empty bellows. My eyes went wide. I had just witnessed a murder. Any strength I'd received vanished quickly. My legs gave way and I crumbled to the ground. My eyes widened like busted shells. He died with the first blow, but as I watched, the blades fell, carving lines into the corpse. The soft slip of a blade through flesh, the silent creep of blood across the ground. I felt nothing from them but madness. Their only desire was raw, animalistic violence. Whatever they were, it wasn't human. They were broken. I could feel my throat clench tightly, and a warm, dark smell brushed against my face. I slowly recognized the coppery tang of blood. An icy bolt of fear ran down my spine, crawling into my limbs and freezing me in place. I was terrified. What was I going to do? What could I do? You have to run, Shinsengumi. I cannot say my own name. I forced my jaw open and drew a ragged breath. This was the only chance I'd get. I had to. Ah! My body, still numb with fear, was unresponsive. I lurched sideways against the stacked woods, and with a rough clatter, it collapsed. Okay, I'm the sucker for white hair and red eyes. The creatures turned, coats drenched in blood. Their eyes locked with mine and bore into me. Hideous grins split their inhuman faces, shaking with excitement at prey to slaughter. Ah! I had to run. I couldn't die yet, but my legs refused to move. Their hideous cackling laughter echoed. I was going to die. My body was frozen with terror. I couldn't even scream. This was it. This was the end. I think I'm just getting saved. What? I watched them raise their bloody swords, the moon glinting off the metal. Then there was a flash of light and the soft splash of blood. I could feel it, warm and sticky. Bile began to rise in my throat before disgust took hold. I heard a voice. The words suggested disappointment. The voice sounded happy. As he spoke, the strange man smiled, almost as if he were enjoying himself. He laughed. Man's smock called Sato, sighed with the air of a long-suffering companion, and looked at me. The sun was light, but it confirmed my fears. I may have escaped the schemes of the Ronin, but I was ensnared by something much darker. Huh? Then, who was in charge of these two? Their conversation led me to believe they were part of an organization. As I thought about it, I recalled hearing about men with blue coats. Ah! My thoughts were interrupted by a dark shape sliding into view. Oh, so sucker for black hair, purple eyes. Oh. I swallowed hard. The moonlight shone off his smooth, dark hair. For reasons I couldn't fathom. In that moment, the light on his hair made me think of the wistfulness of flower petals. It was almost as if the cherry trees were blooming out of season. I don't know. Got you. His voice was cold and quiet, like a blade of ice. Blue-white moonlight lit his slender face and shone from the blade pointed at my chest. But it wasn't the sword making my breath catch. Girl, you and me both. It was his eyes. They were fierce and hard, but somewhere behind them, I could catch a glimpse of something else. There could be no doubt that he was prepared to kill me, and yet he looked troubled. Not kindness, but perhaps mercy. Oh, I ain't going nowhere, honey. I nodded. There was no doubt he meant every word he said. He stared at me for a moment, then grimaced and put his sword away, sighing. What? I was too surprised to stop myself from speaking, and it quickly became apparent that I wasn't the only one.
あれいいんですか、土方さん。この子、さっきの見ちゃったんですよ。
As he spoke to the men he called Hijikata, his eyes narrowed. The men called Hijikata frowned back at him. That's a lot of words for shut up. Dot to dot. It was clear enough that what I'd seen was something they wanted to keep hidden. The more they said, the more I got it, and it was clear none of us wanted such a thing. I don't like you. The way he looked at me made me feel as if he'd read my mind. You're okay, but definitely that one's one I want. Then he looked down at the creature he'd killed, as though he'd forgotten the whole ordeal. He peered down at the corpse, his face an emotionless mask, and he looked back, up at his companions. However, his eyes... When he looked back up at his companions, however, his eyes narrowed. He had a point. Like, if you want to be incognito, don't wear your thingies. What's these? I don't get those. He was right. Even I had heard stories about a gang of cruel men in blue coats who cut people down in the streets. But I didn't know how to confront the dilemma of pretending. I didn't know how to confront the dilemma of pretending I didn't see any of these horrors. My mind swirled through a pool of worries and thoughts, almost as if I was being drawn into their world. A world where there's nothing strange in carrying on a normal conversation in the dead of night with corpses for company. Hijikata thought for a moment before he spoke. Just take their blues. So they're wearing the same thingies you are? Are they like y'all? Like part of your group?
承知しました。新選組の大使が切り殺されてるなんて、僕たちにとっても一大事ですしね。
That's a good point. He gave a derisive bark of laughter.
あとはここにいたやつが黙ってりゃ世間も勝手に納得してくれるだろう。
He looked directly at me. He looked directly at me, and I got the distinct feeling his words weren't for his companions. It was common for people to be murdered in Kyoto. It was a dangerous city, after all. I knew that, of course. But to see it happen, it was something else entirely. If death was such an easy thing in Kyoto, I thought, then the city itself must surely be mad.
ねえ、ところでさ、助けてあげたのに、お礼の一つもないの。
Huh? I didn't realize right away he was speaking to me. When I did, my eyes went wide. What do you mean? He saved me? Well, I did have a point. Despite their threats, they saved my life. I stood up as steadily as I could manage, brushed some dirt off my clothes, and bowed. Thank you very much. I apologize for not thanking you earlier. There was so much going on. I was a little confused. I glanced up at them tentatively. The man called Hijima also looked confused. His eyes were wide, and he had an expression I couldn't place. Hijikata looked as though he'd taken a bite of something sour. I sighed deeply before continuing. I know it seems weird to say. I know it seemed weird to say that, but he told me I shouldn't say thanks. But he told me I should say thanks. So I looked up. Sato and Hijikata both stared pointedly at anything but me, and the third man was shaking with laughter.
ごめんごめん。そうだよね。僕が言ったんだもんね。
He broke out in laughter again, so much so that he was forced to wipe a few tears from his eyes as he straightened up. I don't...
どういたしまして。僕は沖田総司と言います。礼儀正しい子は嫌いじゃないよ。
Thank you for helping me. I'm not quite sure what else to do about again.
君を助けてくれたのが斉藤はじめくん。それでこっちの偉そうなのが
わざわざ紹介してんじゃねえよ。
副長、お気持ちはわかりますが、まず移動を。
Whatever mirth was inspired was gone, and the man called Sato now spoke with quiet urgency. The man named Okita grabbed hold of my wrist, smiled, and led us down the street. His grip was a touch too tight to be friendly, his fingers like iron cables around my arm. There was no question about my situation. I quickly picked up on the notion that if I were to run, I would be killed instantly. My life was in the hands of these strange men. I set my jaw and stood up as straight as I could. My eyes crept up from the bloodstained coat and met Sato's gaze.
己のために最悪を想定しておけ。さしていいようには転ばない。
His words were like a dagger in my stomach. What was going to happen to me? Was I going to die? As we walked through the bleak Kyoto night, I felt horror crawl its way up my spine once again. The cause of my horror wasn't the gruesome end that awaited me, but something else entirely. I spoke with these men and watched them speak, standing next to a warm corpse soaked in blood. That I had done such a thing terrified me in an altogether different way. Perhaps this is what it's like to go mad. I guess that's the prologue. Oh, we're not gonna watch this again. I will leave this here. If anybody would like to continue, let me know. I hope you have a great wherever you are.